My name is Hannah, and this is my beauty budget. Hey y'all, so I'm filming a bunch of overhead shot videos today. My brush declutter, my palette reckoning, and my base product declutter, and I thought I would go ahead and film my regular reckoning for this month as well. I do think that overhead shot filming for the palette declutter was a really good idea. I'm not so sure it's going to be the best idea for filming the regular reckoning, but I thought I would give it a try and see how I like it and see how you guys like it. So this is the Purgatory box right now. I've been keeping it just on the actual corner of my vanity right there underneath the overhanging plant. One of the most beautiful spots in the room, I feel, is where this plant overhangs my beautiful makeup. I just hit myself in the face. My lipstick's fine. This is the Purgatory box this month. I'm gonna go ahead and just reckon with everything in it. I've developed yet another new strategy for dealing with stuff in the Purgatory box. I combined everything because it was starting to kind of float around into quite a big box. It's actually the box that my Polène Paris purse came in when it came in the mail as a birthday gift from my sister. It's a big enough box to hold everything that's in Purgatory. And then I'm going through it and selecting a group of things to be kind of in imminent purgatory in this smaller box and using them until I'm ready to reckon with all of them. And then I'm filming. So I feel like that's working out really, really well. And I think that with this strategy, I might actually go through things more quickly and more confidently, and I'll be able to keep the videos down to a decent length, but do it naturally instead of using the timer, which I know a lot of you guys didn't like. So that's it. I'm gonna pop this box under the overhead camera and reckon with these things. There are some amazing things in this box this month. I'm kind of excited to show them to you and tell you about them. Let's go ahead and get into the meat of the video. And it's time to reckon. But actually, before we start, this video isn't sponsored at all, but I want to tell you about my rings because I'm doing something that I've been doing all the time lately, which is wearing a bunch of rings all over my hands. And most of these rings were sent to me by a company. So not this one, this little emerald ring right here is vintage and I've owned it for a really long time, but the other four are from a brand called Kate Sparkle. And I'm so glad that they reached out and asked if they could send me some PR because the rings are really beautiful. They're sterling silver. This one is natural druzy. This one is an opal. And then these gems that look really shiny like diamonds are lab created sapphires. Let's go ahead and reckon. I think what I'm going to do is to take everything out of the box just so you can see it because I think that will be visually interesting. Then I'll put it all back in the box and I'll go piece by piece. So these are all of the things with which I'm going to be reckoning today. Maybe this can be a little guessing game. If you feel like commenting down in the comment section below, comment one thing that you feel confident that I'm going to keep and one thing that you feel confident that I'm not going to keep. All right, let's get started. This is right on top of the box. It's a Laura Gellar blush that Lauren gave to me. It's called the Baked Heart Blush and Highlighter in Pink Valentine. And I wore this, I believe, during a Get Ready With Me. It's a very beautiful product objectively. It's shimmery and it has this gold shimmer in the middle here. And I feel like if it's applied lightly and if you lean on the outside edge, it can really look like a dupe for NARS Orgasm. It's really kind of a NARS Orgasm kind of blush, but it's got some more gold, honestly. It's a little more highlighting and a little bit more dramatic in that glossiness than NARS Orgasm. However, this pink is it's just not for me. And it's the kind of blush that I don't have any bad feelings about. I don't dislike it. I don't feel like I reject it, but I don't feel really excited about it. And I love blush so much, and I have so many blushes about which I feel super excited. And I would just rather use those than this. And I know that there's probably someone out there who will feel that way about this. So I'm going to find that person and give this to that person. This is another Laura Geller blush, and it also came from Lauren, and it's the same situation. This one is the Baked Blush and Brighten in Cherry Truffle. This one's probably a little bit more something that I would be likely to keep. I mean, it's like a little bit more up my alley. It's more muted. It's a little bit more of a sophisticated color in a way. I mean, it's just got a little bit more kind of grit to it, but it's the same thing. I just feel like, gosh, now that I'm swatching it, I'm sort of second guessing myself. It's really, 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 really pretty. You know what? I'm actually going to zoom you in a little bit, because the last time I did overhead filming, I realized that when I zoomed in, the camera actually handled everything pretty well. And since I'm going one product at a time, I think that for this part of the video, I can zoom in. Let's see. Yeah, and then you'll really be able to see the swatches and the colors and everything. I'll just have to be careful to keep my hands in frame. Anyway, see how pretty that is? Gosh, and it definitely has kind of a, it's got kind of a muskiness going on. I think that I'm not ready to decide about this. I think this might stay in the purgatory box. These, however, this is kind of a sad story and sort of a cautionary tale as well. These are all for the Lancôme Les Monochromatiques. This one's in Soirée, this one is in S'il vous plaît, this one is in Petite Bisou, and this one is in Magique. I'll actually open them all up so you can see them. So this little product is by Lancôme. It's a putty blush and eyeshadow, presumably. You can use it all over your eyes, you can use it all over your face. It's like a multi-purpose product. And this popped up in the Sephora new section a couple of months ago, and I lost my mind because it's priced at $25, which is pretty high for a single pan of something, but low for Lancôme. It's kind of this beautiful in-between luxury priced product. And I really wanted to buy one. There's a brown one, and there's like a really deep glossy red one, and there's a nude champagne sparkle. There are all of these sort of like brownish ones that just captured my heart. And I kept putting, there was a brown one that I kept putting in and out of my cart for a long time. And I couldn't decide about them. I couldn't decide. I had no idea whether they were good. I hadn't seen any reviews. And then Lauren received all 4 of these, I think, as a set in PR. And when it turned out that she didn't want them, I was so excited to be able to adopt them from her and try them out. And this formula, this product has completely disappointed me. I will go ahead and swatch these because, you know, they're all here and they're all open. Part of what's super weird about this set is that these 3 pink ones look so incredibly similar. They just perform really, really similarly. I guess that this one right here has some shimmer in it and that one doesn't, but they just all look so similar. And it's just not very robust. It's not a very robust product. It's kind of dry, it creases on my eyes, and it sort of sits on top of the skin on my cheeks, doesn't blend in. It just doesn't feel like a sophisticated formula, and it's definitely not what I've come to expect from Lancôme. So I'm not gonna keep any of these. I'm not even gonna do that thing where I'm like, I'll pick one and hang on to it because I have 4. I just don't really have any interest in any of these. If anything, this one, which is sort of like a, you know, duochromatic pink shifting highlighting one, could be kind of interesting, but it's just dry and lackluster. And I think that the fact that I had my hopes up about this product so intensely is part of what has made me feel so offended by the fact that they didn't end up being really anything to write home about. So all 4 of these are going to be rehomed. There's one more blush in the purgatory box, so let's talk about it now and we can get all of the blushes out of the way right at the outset. This is the Physicians Formula Butter Blush. This is also something that I inherited from Lauren. It's in Natural Glow, and it is so pale and so nude and has some shimmer in it, such that it just looks like a champagne gold highlighter. It really is so light that it's just a putty highlighter, and an uninspired one at that. Plus, I strongly dislike this packaging. If for some reason I had fallen completely in love with what's in this pan, I would definitely have depotted this. But I once tried to do that with a Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer, and it cracked and shattered all over the place. So I wouldn't have been really excited to embark on that mission, even if I had really wanted the pan that's inside. So I'm perfectly happy to pass this along. I feel like that was a good segue into highlighters, because there are a couple of highlighters here in the Purgatory box. This one is from Ofra. It also came from Lauren, and it is in the color Star Island. It is a gorgeous silvery champagne, and I really like it. It looks more gold in the pan, and usually gold highlighters don't work on my skin. They tend to look dark on me, but because this one buffs out to that sort of silver reflect, it ends up just looking really beautiful, bright and wet on my skin. I love this pretty little thing, and I love the new Ofra packaging. I think it's stunning. I'm really happy to have inherited this, and I'll be keeping it. This one too, same story. Look at this beauty. Look, you can see that Lauren put a little sticker on here, I think when she probably included it in a project pan or something. It's a Lancome Dual Finish Highlighter in 01 Shimmering Buff. And look how pretty this is. Just look how pretty and creamy it looks. Oh my goodness gracious. And gosh, I wish I had kept that swatch of Star Island on here, because I have swatched them together. I didn't want to just blanket accept, you know, all these highlighters into my collection, especially if they were similar. But this one is much more of sort of a glossy sheer champagne. It doesn't have as much density and as much pigment as Star Island, and it doesn't have silver. It's not really a silver reflect. It's like a really soft, creamy champagne silver. I consider it to be a little bit more of a natural highlight than the one from Ofra. Really stunning, a gorgeous option for me, especially as I get older and my skin starts to be a little bit textured around my eyes. So I'm really excited to have this one as well. Those are all the highlighters that were in there, but there are 3 bronzers in the Purgatory box right now. And I actually want to look at them all together, which maybe I should have done for the blushes and the highlighters as well. It seems like it would have been an elegant decision, but it's already done. But for the bronzers, let's look at them all together, because here's the thing. You guys know that I am not really a bronzer person. I'm not really a collector of bronzers, because most of the bronzers in the market I have previously felt were not the right color for me, too dark. The product that I've always used as a bronzer is the Kevyn Aucoin Neo Highlighter, which I will also show you. And actually, this is also good because you can get a sense of the size difference between the Kevyn Aucoin Neo Highlighter, which are these big, sort of beautiful compacts, and the new Kevyn Aucoin bronzer, which is what this is. So this is the Neo Bronzer in Sunrise Light. I believe this is a new release, and this just came to me through Octoly. It came up in my Octoly free store, and I was so excited. So I'm going to talk about these guys both to begin with. This is what I've been previously using as a bronzer. It's the 3 highlighters from Kevyn Aucoin. I think it's like Sunlight, Moonlight, and Candlelight or something like that. I think that that's wrong, but it's something like that. There's a darker one, which is definitely more of an actual brown bronze. There's a medium one, which is much more peachy, and then there's a light one, which is much more champagne. And by using all 3 of these, I can get kind of some light sculpting on my face that doesn't really look like much color. And I really love that for a subtle, glimmery bronze. It's also very finely milled, and so it gives sort of this nice sheen to my cheeks. I really love this product. I'm not sure it's worth it. Well, I guess it's swatching. So that's the brown, that's the peach in the middle, and that's the champagne. So yeah, you can kind of see the brown color, but the peach and the champagne are disappearing into my skin, which is what makes it such an ideal product for me. Now, this, the new Kevyn Aucoin bronzer in the lightest color, I wasn't sure would work for me because usually even the lightest bronzer in a range looks muddy on my skin. But this is incredibly red for a bronzer. I mean, it's basically a blush, which to me is what a bronzer for fair skin should be, because when I get sun, I don't get bronze, I get pink. So that's the darker side, the matte side right there. And you can see it really, really looks like a nude blush. I mean, it looks actually quite a lot like the Laura Geller Baked Cherry blush that I swatched earlier. It's got that kind of brown in it. And then it's a little bit more faint in the middle. And then the shiny side, the glimmery side, has a shocking amount of micas in it. I mean, it actually has some pretty big chunks of glitter, and it really, really, really shines up the cheeks when you add it on top of this. So this little color palette right here is amazing for me for bronzing. I mean, I'm stunned. And I consider this to be sort of a peachier and fainter and more gentle soft bronze. And I consider this to be kind of an intense blushy bronze. And I have been wearing it all the time. I mean, this has been sitting on top of my vanity since it arrived from Octoly. Now, these two bronzers are more traditional in color. They're more traditional for bronzers. This is the No. 7 Golden Sands bronzer, and this is something that Lauren gave to me. And then this was sent to me in PR from an Australian brand called Fluff. I think it's a new brand because bronzer is the only thing that they have released so far. This is their one product. They released this bronzer called Fluff. Is that what it's called? Is the bronzer called Fluff? Yeah, it's just called the Fluff Bronzing Powder. So you can see by looking that this one of the three is the darkest, kind of. And this one, compared to these two, looks so light, so nude, right? So it's such a pale nude that you can see why it would work for my skin. And it does. And of the three of them, this is the first one that I had in my collection. Lauren gave this to me. I started using it in a pretty light application and I fell in love with it. I actually love it. It's a bronzer that's marketed as a bronzer that works for me, but slightly different from this. It's more along the lines of the peachiness of the Kevyn Aucoin Neo Highlighter, but it's completely matte. And I've never had a matte bronzer in a color that works for me. So that was novel. The formula is very beautiful. This one from Fluff, it looks like it would be too dark, but it's a very buildable powder. Very, very buildable. And I found that it too can work for me. So you can see with that pretty hefty swatch, it's still relatively faint in color. And if I use a big fluffy brush and I apply it in sort of sweeping motions, it looks gorgeous. All three of these have really, really surprised me. So the No. 7 bronzer I can feel is kind of creamier and thicker than the one from Fluff, but because it's lighter in color, they end up swatching pretty similarly. And then I'll swatch the Kevyn Aucoin one again. I'll just mix all three together so you can see how much pinker it is. I mean, it looks like a blush next to the other two. It's so different. The moral of the story here is just that I have become kind of a bronzer girl with these three products. I'm definitely not in the market for any more bronzers. I went from having none to having three because I'm going to be keeping all of these. I really, really enjoy all of them, and I've been impressed by all three of them. So I went from having none to having three, and that's it. I don't need any more bronzers after this, but I've been wearing bronzer on my face and on my eyes as my entire look almost every day for weeks now. It's really like my summer vibes. I love it. So keeping, I did want to show you that this product came with a brush because these are their only two products. If you go to their website, which is itsallfluff.com, you'll see these two products available. And another thing that I really like about this Fluff bronzer is that it's got very clean ingredients. That's kind of what they're doing with this brand. They're trying to make universal, casual cosmetics that have very clean ingredients. So this is the brush that they sent. And to be honest, as much as I adore the powder, I'm just showing you how incredibly kind of light and natural it is when you buff it in. As much as I adore the powder, I'm not the biggest fan of this brush. And because I just filmed a brush declutter, which I actually don't think has gone up yet, the brush declutter probably will go up after this, but I did just film a brush declutter and I feel like my brush collection is extremely streamlined right now and full of brushes that I love with all of my heart, including the most gorgeous and luxurious bronzer brush that I could ever have possibly conceived of in my life. Because of that, I don't think I want to keep this brush. I think I am going to gladly keep this gorgeous silver compact. It's very heavy, by the way. It's very, very luxe. But I think I'm going to find a new home for this brush because even though it feels weird to separate them because they came as a kit, I just know myself and I know that this one would just sit there for a year and then I would declutter it. So I might as well take care of that now. All right, let's talk about a couple of things that aren't makeup, and then I will round out the video with the rest of the makeup at the end. So this is a body wash from a brand called Plant Apothecary, and I requested it from Octoly when it came up in my free store, right when I was just finishing using up the last drops of the body wash that I had in my shower. And it was the only soap that I had, so I was finished with that category and I decided to ask for this one and test it out and see what it was like. So Plant Apothecary is also like a clean beauty brand. This is no parabens, petroleum, phthalates, SLS, dimethicones, synthetic fragrances or preservatives, or animal-derived products. It smells gorgeous and the scent comes from essential oils. This one is a eucalyptus and bergamot scented body wash. And it feels, it's made with, I think, a lot of coconut oil and other kinds of oils. Yeah, olive oil. And it looks and kind of feels like honey, as you can see. I have realized in using it, even though the bottle seems a little bit small, that a tiny bit goes a really, really long way. It squeezes out and then it feels kind of slimy, but then when you start spreading it, it's almost like it multiplies and spreads all over the body and it foams up reasonably well, especially for something that is made out of these more clean ingredients. So I really like it. There are two things about it. One is that I can't use it as a bubble bath, which is something that I usually do. I usually double up my body washes as bubble baths and just put a little bit under the faucet when it's running. When I do that with this one, it just turns into a bunch of little worms of oil in the bath. It doesn't really kind of foam and emulsify in water. It only works when I'm using it literally as soap on my body. That's obviously not a deal breaker. It's not the end of the world, but I thought that I would mention it. And then the other thing is that because it has so much coconut oil in it, I have to be careful not to get it on my face because coconut oil can be pore clogging. I haven't had any problems with it so far, but I'm always really careful about that. Overall, I think that this is really lovely. And if you're somebody who really prioritizes body products that are free of all of these commonly avoided ingredients, then this could be a brand worth looking into. These are 3 products from a skincare brand called Verify. I believe it's a Canadian brand and I know that it is woman-owned. I met the women who own and run this brand at the Indie Beauty Expo and they gave me these 3 products to try. I have actually been trying them for a really long time. That was months ago. So I decided to work on these for a while before reporting back about them to you guys so that I could get a really good sense of how they work. This is their eye cream. It's the 2020 eye cream. This is a nice, relatively simple eye cream. It's definitely nourishing. It's lovely. It doesn't have any like super intense, crazy science in it or anything like that, but it has a lot of gorgeous ingredients that definitely help moisturize my under eyes. This is a really nice product. The self-absorbed facial moisturizer is also a really nice product. It's also something where a little bit goes a long way. It will pump out the tiniest amount and I'll think, oh, there's no way that this is going to moisturize my skin because it also seems to feel kind of thin when you pump it out and I have very dry skin. Then when I start spreading it on my face, it's like it thickens. It has a lot of body. It's really, really occlusive in its own sort of lightweight, lovely way. I've been pretty impressed by this. Daytime lightweight facial moisturizer is not something that I really use in my routine. I tend to layer serums, oils, then sunscreen. So I haven't made much progress on this bottle because it's almost like it doesn't really have a place in my routine. But for people for whom this is a really important type of product, this is a really, really nice one. This, however, the Powertrip facial serum, to me is their star product. It's a lactic acid serum, and to me it works every bit as well as Sunday Riley Good Genes. It's really, really impressive. It's a powerhouse product, but it doesn't have the super intense lemongrass, almost vinegar smell of Good Genes. So if you love Good Genes, but you're really sensitive to those strong scents, then this might be something worth looking into. I had optimistically thought that it could be an amazing replacement for Good Genes because hopefully it was less expensive, but when I looked it up, I found that this is an incredibly expensive product. I didn't realize that when they gave it to me, but I think that this is something like $100 a bottle. I think it's on par with Good Genes in terms of price. So it's not a dupe for Good Genes price-wise, unfortunately. If anyone ever finds a true dupe for Good Genes that doesn't cost that much, please let me know because I would love that. But in terms of efficacy and also, you know, supporting a smaller and kind of more indie brand than Sunday Riley, one that's not exactly hooked into the giant corporations in the way that Sunday Riley is, Verify is just a phenomenal brand in terms of ethics, and they do a lot of work to support, I think, girls in STEM fields. So I'm really into this brand. I love all three of these products. I don't know if I'd be able to bring myself to spend what they cost, so I don't know if I'll buy them for myself, but I'm definitely going to keep them and use them up. All right, we're back to the makeup. That was a brief foray away from makeup, and the rest is pretty much makeup. I guess there's a primer, but you know, that's like makeup skincare hybrid. I'll talk about it next. But first, I want to talk about these Sydney Grace liquid eyeshadows. These were sent to me by a subscriber recently, Verena, and wow, I've always wanted to try these Sydney Grace liquid shadows. Sarah Hubler raves about these, and she really piqued my interest, but I've never even come close to placing an order from Sydney Grace, especially because I have so much eyeshadow that it's not at the top of my list in terms of what I want to spend my budget on, but I was so excited when I opened that package and saw these. So this one is called Boardwalk, and it's just a beautiful standard kind of metallic copper. They buff out beautifully, they are very thin and lightweight, they set down completely and don't crease. They are really every bit as amazing as Sarah says. This one though, this one, you guys, this is called My Bond, and this has really been the light of my life, I must say, over the past couple of weeks. This is something truly amazing. Get ready. So that's a pretty thin layer, and I don't know how well the camera will pick it up. It can also be intensified. It has glitters in it. This one doesn't. This one's just a copper sheen. It has glitters in it, and it's extremely iridescent and shifting, sort of purple, blue, oil spill, glittery, glimmery goodness. And I have been known on many occasions since this arrived in the mail to put this all over my lids from lash line to brow and to blend it out, and then to go back in with more of it and tap it in the outer corners to deepen the eye. And then if I want to, sometimes I can build an eye look on top of that with eyeshadow, but it wears beautifully on its own. And you can also buff it out on the lower lash line. So both of these are already completely set. If you look at that, like they're completely set down and they wouldn't crease. So you have to work with them relatively quickly, but I think it's worth it for how bulletproof they become. So for me with liquid shadows, when something is really unique and editorial like this, that is a gem to me. I'm definitely going to keep this. I will keep using it a lot. I'm really grateful to have it. Something like this is something I'm a little bit less likely to use as a liquid shadow because I have so many eyeshadows that are this color already. And because it's a bit of a deeper copper, I'm not going to be putting it all over my lid, like all the way up to my lash line, because I feel like it wouldn't quite be the thing. It's a color that I would want sort of on part of my lid, but not all of my lid. And for that kind of work on my eyes, I tend not to go for liquid shadows because I find them a little bit harder to blend out the edges of. So I'm going to keep this truly extraordinary one, My Bond, but I'm going to find somebody else who wants to try out Boardwalk and pass that along to them. Here's the primer. This is also something that Lauren passed along for me. It's the Dermalogica Hydra Blur Primer. If you saw my base product declutter recently, then you would have seen that I have a lot of primers right now. I have so many primers, but only one of them is pore filling. There's that one from Freedom Naturals that's kind of a mattifying pore filling primer. All of the other ones are somewhat luminous and some of them are color correcting. This one is it's interesting. It comes out looking kind of opaque and white, and it has little specks in it, but then when it blends out, obviously it blends out clear. I mean, maybe not obviously, but it does blend out clear on me, and a little goes a long way, and it does give a very beautiful finish. It dries down very quickly, it has a little bit of tack, and then it becomes very soft and easy to apply makeup on top of. I actually like this even better than my pore filling Freedom Naturals primer, but as I said in that video, with primer, it's fine for me to have a little bit more than I would ordinarily have because I will definitely use it all up. I'm sure that I will use this up. I really, really like it, so I'm gonna hang on to it. This, however, in a similar vein, just in terms of base products, this is really, really cute. It's a powder from Paul & Joe. It's just a limited edition pressed powder. I definitely don't need more than one pressed powder, and I already have one from Kevyn Quan that has a slightly glowy side and a more mattifying side that I will be using for all of my pressed powder needs. So in spite of how absolutely adorable this is, I'm going to pass this along. This is another thing that Lauren gave me. I can't remember if I reckoned with this yet. It's a Lise Watier eyeliner in a color that I really, really love for eyeliner. It's like a almost burgundy tinged brown, and this has pretty much already entered my collection. I've been using it nonstop since Lauren gave it to me, so it's a no-brainer. I'm keeping this for sure. This, you guys, this is one of the most exciting things that I have ever had occasion to receive as PR. This also came from Octoly. This and the bronzer, the new Kevyn Quan bronzer, they both showed up in my Octoly free store at the same time. And I was just like, I really, really want to try those products. I don't really like gloss products for the face that don't set down, or historically I haven't. I've had a couple that I've decluttered because they don't set down. I don't like having sticky stuff on my face. However, Lauren recently gave me the Ciate Glowy Stick, which is, no, it's the Dewy Stick, the Ciate London Dewy Stick. That's a dewy sort of eye and cheek gloss that doesn't really set down. I love the look so much that I tentatively started using it, and I realized that, especially if my hair is up in a bun, it doesn't really bother me that much. So I had sort of a tacit interest in this product because it seems so glamorous and so editorial, but I wouldn't have spent the $30 or something on it because I would have been afraid that I wouldn't be able to stand the tackiness. Is the Kevyn Quan Glass Glow Face Illuminator, and this is in the shade Crystal Clear, which actually has some blue glitters in it when you first pump it out. It looks like it's really, really glittery. Like you can see it, can you see it sort of shifting blue there on my hand because that's a very thick layer? But you would never wear that thick of a layer. So when I put this on my cheeks, I really just put the tiniest bit and I just pat it on just my cheekbones, and that blue pretty much buffs away and you're left with just a very, very, very wet looking glow. I mean, it's incredibly wet looking. And if I put a thin enough layer on my lids, it doesn't crease too badly, and I don't really mind that slightly grungy editorial look. I can layer it with a cream product, like a cream blush on my eyes, or even a cream eyeshadow like this that does set down. I could layer this over one of these, and it might get a little bit messy, but not so messy that it looks out of control and unintentional. So I've been pleasantly surprised actually by how easy this product is to work with. It definitely doesn't set down, you know, it doesn't harden. It stays tacky, but it looks ethereally stunning. I mean, it looks incredible, and I've been wearing it more actually than I expected to wear it. So I'm really glad that I was able to test this out through Octoly, and I'm definitely going to keep it. I'll try to do like a demonstration with it sometime soon because I think you guys might enjoy seeing how it applies to the face and how it blends over top of other products. I can put it on top of powder products. You just have to tap it really, really, really gently. So if I were to take this on my finger and just like tap, tap, tap this on top of a blush or a bronzer, it does work out. You just can't, if you start rubbing, it'll rub away the powder, but just with a little bit of a tap, you can use it to top powder products that are on your face. All right, I have just two more products here. They're kind of similar. One I am keeping and one I am not. This is the Sigma Eyeshadow Base Primer. This also came from Verena. It's a primer that's in like an eyeshadow stick form. It's the color Bubbly, and it's just a champagne color. And it's lovely. It's just nothing really special. It doesn't have any kind of preternaturally sophisticated shine. I have other shadow sticks like this. I don't use them that often. I have, I think, some from Lancome that I don't reach for that often. And I tried this as a primer and it doesn't really do anything to hold on to eyeshadow or to smooth out the lids. I think if I were to keep it, I would just wear it like this all over the lids, but I already have products that I really like for that kind of purpose. So I'm going to give this one away. This is the Kiko Milano long-lasting eyeshadow stick in the color 46, which I think is called Multicolored Mauve. It doesn't say that on here, but I looked it up online. And this is, I already actually swatched this in another video. I think I swatched it in my video about the things that I bought with my budget last month because I had used it to repair like a leaking glittery eye, and I had these sort of dramatic grungy oil slick eyes, and I just wanted to show you guys how amazing this product is. So it looks stunning. It really looks like a dark oil slick, but also it's bulletproof. I mean, it did an amazing job going over my wrecked eye look, and then it set down and it stayed for the entire video, and I actually kept it on for the whole rest of the day, and it was fine. And I find it very difficult to recover from like a watery eye that has watered and messed up a pretty hefty eye look, which is what I used this to repair. So this is a precious jewel to me. I will definitely be keeping this Kiko Milano long-lasting eyeshadow stick. All right, so this is everything. Across the top here are the products that I am not going to keep from the Purgatory box this month, and down here are the products that I am going to keep. I am passing on 10 products and I am keeping 13. And then right here we have this little Laura Gellar Baked Blush and Brighten in Cherry Truffle. It is going back into the Purgatory box because I haven't been able to decide about it yet. And that is it. Let me know what you think. I'm so curious to know if you guys like this style of reckoning, if you like having it be an overhead shot video, or if you prefer a talking head style of video when it comes to Hannah's reckoning. Unless everyone super hates this, I might go back and forth because to tell you the truth, it's kind of a pain in the butt to rig the camera up for overhead shooting. So I feel like when I have it rigged up, I want to shoot a bunch of videos. And so I'm thinking that whenever it's rigged up like that and it's time to reckon, I'll shoot an overhead reckoning, but I will not be likely to switch it to overhead filming just to reckon with a box if a bunch of people really, really like this style, if that makes sense. But it's an option. It's always an option for the future, and I'm excited to get your feedback. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Hannah's Reckoning, you guys. I hope that it was a good one for you, and I hope that you are remembering to take extra good care of yourself right now so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.